Hang on there, guys. We need to do something a little different. Just bear with me. Let's try this again.
Hello, hello,
Well, hello, everyone. Hello, hello. There. I thought we could start the year off without no mistakes, but it is what it is. I think people are knowing that by now. Anyway, well, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Happy New Year, and welcome back to our Sunday night offering of astronomy outreach for January the 7th, the Sunday Night Astronomy Show. Yay!
hello. Hey, first one.
My name is Chris Kerwin. I'm an amateur astronomer, creator of the social media channels known as Astronomy by the Bay, and I'm a member of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada. I'm very pleased to welcome back my two co-hosts this evening. We'll start out the year with Mr. Paul Owen from the Moon Shadow Observatory in beautiful Hampton. Paul, good evening.
Hello, good evening. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. And also bringing back Mr. Mike Powell from the Peel Observatory here in St. John. Mike.
Hello, everybody. Happy New Year.
And we'd like to welcome all of you tonight on Facebook and YouTube land, and also all of those who are joining us from the local Rogers TV network. Thank you very much for your support. So, on tonight's episode of the Sunday Night Astronomy Show, well, it is the new year, and 2024 promises to be a very exciting year for stargazers with lots and lots of celestial events coming up. A couple of maybe a nice couple of comets coming, Kurt, maybe. We have the total solar eclipse coming, lunar eclipse, and all kinds of great things coming up. So while we wait for all that, though, this is a great time to learn about the night sky. And we learn about the night sky by taking small chunks of the sky at a time and trying to find out what's treasures lie within those little chunks. And we have our local expert to help us each month here on that topic, astronomer and longtime RAS member, Kurt Nason. Kurt joins us again this evening to help us discover the legends and the treasures behind the constellation of Aries. And Trudy says that's the best sign to be born under, just saying. Welcome to the show, Kurt. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you. Happy 4 days past perihelion.
Awesome. Yes, I should have mentioned that.
Okay.
Good way to put it. Okay. Well, now Mike will be joining us with another bundle of bud target this evening. Paul's going to give us an Ask the Astronomer talk, along with presenting an interesting Rosanna's fun fact. I'm going to mention the one event of the week that's probably the primary event tomorrow morning. Under clear skies for everybody, yeah. You gotta mention it anyway, so we'll talk a little bit about that, and I'll also have your wonderful photo submissions to share. So sit back, grab a favorite beverage, as I do every week, and salute the new year with us. As always, if you have any questions, please post them here. So we're gonna get started then tonight with a discussion around the constellation of Aries. Mr. Nixon, sir.
That's me, I think.
Pick me, Herc, pick me.
What a dismal cartoon that was.
Wasn't it?
Weren't they all back then?
Oh, no, Bugs Bunny.
Ah,
Yeah, I miss Bug Bunny.
Okay, here's the sky, and not too far off from now here, just 10 minutes or so. And tonight we're talking about Aries, the Ram, right in here. Not your biggest constellation, and certainly not one of the easiest ones to pick out. You've got essentially 3 stars here in a bent line, and a 4th one way down here. And that's pretty much it, at least with the naked eye. But it's one of the more famous constellations. But get into that in a little bit. Now let's take a little closer look at it. Here's the big ram there. So you see different pictures of it over from maps being drawn long ago. Some would have the horns here, and a lot of them were drawn with the ram looking backwards. There might be a story behind that one, but I don't remember it. Its brightest star here is Hamel, and it's magnitude 2.0, which means it doesn't quite make the top 50 brightest list. I think the 50 brightest is like 1.98. And the second brightest one here is Sheraton, and it's about magnitude 2.6. We bring this one up a little bit more. Okay, you see that one, it's about 4.5. And the other one way back here, Marani, it's 3.6. So those ones don't really jump out.
That's the purple star.
Purple? Purple or triple?
you're a brown star.
Yeah. But even from like the urban areas, I can see, well, these two easily, and this one as well. So that little bent line is what most people see when they look at Aries. Now, there's not a whole lot in there for deep sky observers either, but there is one. So you bring this one up a little farther here.
Up his nose there.
Here we go. That's not it either.
Up off his nose.
Oh yeah, there we go. Snorting out. Pretty close to being snorted out there too. So this NGC 772, right? And this one is a pretty good one for New Brunswickers, right? Because it's not our national flower, but it's probably our national fern. This one's called the Fiddlehead Galaxy.
Oh.
So you can zoom in a bit on it. Let me just dump this one here. There, get rid of that. Zoom in on this, and there we go. A little bit higher so you can see some of the arm coming like that. Looks like the top of the fiddlehead. And for those of you that are from away, fiddlehead is a fern, an edible fern, and it's very tasty. And there are a lot of people that go up picking fiddleheads in boggy areas there in the springtime, and they guard their secret locations very, very closely. My father used to go out every spring and come back with a couple of bags full of them. It's always a great time of year to have those. And I think McCain's has frozen ones you can buy. Okay, so that's the NGC 772. Now, brass members might be familiar with this one because it's number 14 on the finest NGC list that was put together by Alan Dyer. So Alan, if you're tuning in, thank you very much. That was a great list. And about 18 years ago, I'd done the Messier list a couple of times, and I was going through the finest NGCs. I think I got them all at, let's see, September 5th, 2000, oh, yeah, September 5th, 2005. These were my notes on it. I was out at a pit there on the way into Point Pro. and it's a good night. And I got 5 of the finest NGCs that night. And 15, so next up to NGC 14, pardon me. Up to NGC 772 in Aries, the finder field was quite easy. The galaxy was small and roundish with a stellar light brightening and in the core. Found it in 26 millimeter. So I was using my C8. So they do my searching with 26 millimeter. And then I observed the details in a 15 millimeter. That's all I wrote for it. But just to point out, if you're an observer and you don't keep a log, I recommend you start one as soon as you can. Because this is 18 years ago, and I was wondering, when did I look at this? So I keep a log. I've been doing this since 2000. And I'm on volume 13 of these now. And I can go through one. You got about 192 pages in these. And I'll use maybe 189 of the pages. And I said about every 16 or 17 months, I can go through one of these books. So I can go looking at the sun and sketch that almost every day I can. And I usually leave 3 or 4 pages at the end of it as an index. So when I fill the book, I'll go through it. It takes several hours to go through it and start marking down the page numbers of what I see. Say of the sun, I've got 150 pages here with the sun on it. So I've got marked down every page on there for that. So if I want to find something, go back and look for it. Like when I want to find out about this F14, I figured it'd be around 2005. So I found the book with that date on it and just looked in the back, and I found under the NGCs that particular one there. So it's really handy if you do this. Good reference point, later on in your life. And so much for that one. So that's the only one. You can see there's NGC 770 here. 772 is magnitude 10.3. This other one's something like magnitude 12. So I wouldn't have got that anyway. So really only deep sky object within easy reach of, say, an 8-inch telescope. Okay, but there is an asterism over here near this particular star, Barani, and this actually was a constellation at one time. Now you get into the 1600s, and you had a lot of astronomers were looking at the sky and making their own catalogs, and there were 4 of them that made up a constellation in this area in here, and they each gave it a different name. Right, so the first one is the early 1600s. It was called a B. Let's bring this up here. Started off as a B, and they call it Apis, which means B. Right, and the next one, maybe a dozen years later, they slightly changed it. It was called a wasp, or Latin word for a wasp. Then later on, somebody had it as a lily. A French astronomer, and it was to sort of glorify the king at the time, associated with lilies. And then toward the end of that century, Hevelius called it the northern fly, or Musca borealis. And so that one's stuck for a while. And it might have been 100 years ago when they finally get rid of it, when the International Astronomical Union had the sky all split up into the 88 constellations and had the boundaries defined on it there. So now it's just an asterism that you can call the northern fly. Maybe Bun will pick that up sometime.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's an easy one to see. It's a triangle. If you listen closely, you might hear the buzzing. And the fly won't hurt you as much as the bee or the wasp. All right, so you see, here's the ecliptic. So this is the path the sun appears to make through the sky. And so we see the planets and the moon will be reasonably close to that one. The moon could be up to like 5 degrees either side of it. Now, right now, it's easy to find Aries because the brightest thing in the night sky, if the moon's not there, there's Jupiter just down below it and within the constellation borders of Aries. Not too long ago, I think it might have been down just here in Cetus, and passed through there quickly. And we also see Uranus over here. So Uranus is actually Jupiter's grandfather in Roman mythology, and in between them was Saturn. Okay, so we get this is why Aries is very, very famous, because it's one of the zodiac constellations. In fact, when they first started doing the astrology stuff here, maybe 3,000 years ago or so. Right now we see the vernal equinox. The sun is here on the first day of spring, the vernal equinox. If we look at it closely, you can see the symbol for it. Pick it up. It's a ram's head with two horns right there in the face. Right, so at one time, about 3,000 years ago, and see if we can see this. Don't want to go that far off. Let's change the date on here. Let's make this minus 1024, and we see we've changed it. See how this shifted? So over just a long period of time, the position of the constellations in the sky have shifted like that at the same time of night. So move over here to Aries, and here you see this is where the vernal eclipse was. Just over about 3,000 years ago. So when they're first coming up with the zodiac signs and things like that, and sort of getting into the astrological part of it, this is where they'd start off. So you see in the newspapers, it's Aries is first, March 21st to April 20th or whatever. And so a lot of places, they started their year, their calendar year or whatever, when the sun first moved into Aries and the moon. So the sun and moon were first moved into Aries, that would be the start of the year. So this is a very big point for many of the societies back then. And it wasn't just like in ancient Greece, Euphrates and places like that. Other ones had picked up on that as well because they had known the sky. But so this is why it's so famous. And back then it was called the first point of Aries, where the vernal equinox is, right? But even though it's changed and now it's gone into Pisces, it's been about 400 years or so to move into Aquarius. Let's get back to where we were here. There. Now shifted down there, but they still call it the first point of Aries. And other things that get tied into that, when the vernal equinox was here in Aries, we have two other things dealing with the solstices. The sun in the summertime, first day of summer, would have been in Cancer. Instead, now it's just moved into Taurus. And in the wintertime, it was in Capricornus. So in the summertime, if you lived on latitude 23.5 degrees, then the sun would be directly overhead in Cancer. So that's where the term Tropic of Cancer comes from. In the wintertime, it'd be directly overhead at minus 23.5 degrees in the constellation Capricornus, and that's where the Tropic of Capricorn comes from. So the first point of Aries, those names for the tropics have not changed, even though everything has. Now, if you're an astrologer and you know all this stuff, things are changing, that could give them some problems. But with astrologers, it's different. Now, I don't know if this is more recent, so they get rid of all this problems there. But if you go to the first point of Aries, they're in Pisces now, they don't talk about constellations, they talk about signs. So Aries isn't a constellation to an astrologer, it's a sign. And so beginning at the vernal equinox, 30 degrees along the ecliptic would be Aries. And the next 30 degrees would be Taurus, even though it's not related to the constellation anymore. And that's your astrological lesson for today. You're welcome.
By the way, you put your date at minus 2024.
Well, I did, okay. There.
Awesome.
Feel much older now. All right, so why do we have the ram there in the first place? By the way, rams were an important animal there. And the Egyptians, they were looking at these, and Amun-Ra was the god of fertility, and he was always drawn as a human body, both the head of a ram on him. And in, say, ancient Greece, they had a story, two or three stories dealing with rams, but the most famous one, dealing with the ram and how it got up in the sky, is the forerunner of one of the more well-known Greek stories from back in that time, the story of Jason and the Argonauts, which made one of my famous movie back in 1962, and it won an award, Academy Award, I think. for just the special effects that they had there by Ray Harryhausen. All right, so in this tale, takes place in Boeotia, which is in southern part of mainland Greece. And it's just a little bit north of Athens, a large area in there. And there's a king there, his King Athanas, and his wife was a goddess, and her name was Nephele. And goddesses or gods and goddesses could marry mortals, but they couldn't always stay on Earth. So they were married, and they had two kids. Phrixus, the boy, and his younger sister was Helle. And they were up getting to be, not quite teenagers at the time. But Nephele had to go back up to Mount Olympus. Her time on Earth had been done. So she left, and the king, he started looking for a new wife and somebody who would be good to his kids. And he finally found a woman he thought would be good. Her name is Ino or Eno. And after a while, she started not wanting the kids to be around. And so she had quite a schemer, and she arranged to have all the crops poisoned. So the crops had all failed. And then she started the rumor about the two kids being responsible for that. And she convinced the priests of that and everything. So they were told that the only way to get the crops back, they had to sacrifice those two kids. That way she would be rid of them. So it came the king there. He didn't like that, but the priests had convinced him, this is what you have to do. You're the king. You have to sacrifice your kids to get the crops to come back. And so on the night before they were to be sacrificed, Nephele had been watching this from Mount Olympus. So she came down and visited her kids and told them, okay, at the time, just be aware of this, at the time that you're going to be executed, just before that, I'll send down a ram with a golden fleece. It can fly. And you just jump on the back, grab onto the fleece, and it'll take you off to safety. She said, but there's one condition, don't look down. Okay, so they take that information, and the next morning they're out ready to be sacrificed. And sure enough, this golden lamb or golden ram comes down, lands beside him. They jump on his back, and everybody's astounded. Where did this come from? And takes off up into the sky. And it starts heading off to another land. And they're enjoying the ride pretty well, but Helle, she gets really a little bit too curious and wonder why I can't look down. So she looks down and gets dizzy and falls off the ram. And she lands in the water down there, just by the Sea of what's now the Sea of Marmara. It's actually in the Dardanelles Strait. And they used to call that the Hellespont because of her. Her name is Hellas. And so this was the Hellas Sea, more or less. It was named after her. But now they changed it to the Strait of Dardanelles. And then the ram kept on there with Phrixus on his back, and he landed in the land of Colchis, which is on the eastern end of the Black Sea. All right, so he jumps off, Phrixus jumps off the ram, and to really thank it very much for saving his life, he slaughtered the lamb and cut off the golden fleece. Really, really good for that. So he gave the golden fleece to the king of that area, as a sort of a, I'm here, please take care of me. You can have this golden fleece. So the king took the golden fleece and had it nailed to a tree there, and it was guarded by a dragon that would never sleep. So that's where that story ends. And then if you come up, years and years later, Jason and the Argonauts, they come up to steal that golden fleece, and they had a lot of help from the king's daughter, Medea. Now, there's a little bit of maybe reality in this story. Stop sharing on this one here. Here, up here. Bring something else up. Here's a map of the area. All right, so here's Greece. Boeotia is down in here. All right, now here's where the Hellespont was. So they flew from here. This ram gets pretty good mileage, golden rams at least. Up here, there's a Hellespont. That's where Helle fell off. And pretty much made a beeline across here. And Colchis is up in here in Georgia. Well, up in here, we have the Caucasus Mountains. And actually have the Caucasus Mountains on the moon as well, named after these ones. And you have a lot of rivers coming down here. And the Caucasus, there's gold in them, our hills. And so they get gold to be coming down in the rivers. So rather than panning for gold, they would take the fleece from sheep and put that in the water, and the gold dust, little nuggets and stuff like that would get caught in the fleece. So when you take the fleece out after a period of time, there's all that gold that's in there. So I think that might be where the story of the golden fleece came from. There's a little bit of reality into that one.
That's different.
And pretty much it for that story. In China, they saw Aries as a woman with a bowl of fruit on her head. And there were a couple of stars near the side of her. They were called the inspectors. Okay, so when they had Aries in the sky like that, it was a reminder that it was time to bring in the crops. So that's where that comes from, the bowl of fruit up there. It's telling people, okay, it's time to bring the crops in now. Okay. And that's the name of that tune.
So Kurt, you
Yeah.
had a question from Janice. She says, what piqued your interest in mythology?
I remember taking mythology when I was in grade 2. And actually, I think that might have been my interest in mythology because, young boy like that, and probably and girls too. Well, we like monsters and heroes and stuff like that. So you have all those stories and realize that a lot of these stories are in the constellations in the sky. So as I was taking that mythology in grade 2, and I started reading it after that. It's pretty good, and I'm still reading it.
So like 10 years ago or so.
I was going to
Oh,
say
yeah.
10 or 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And Trudy, I was born just a day after the 21st of March. So we're sign mates. Ram on. Give your heart to somebody.
Oh,
Quite the stories, Kurt. I mean, they're very interesting, every one of them, but I don't.
I got bucks if you want to read them.
Why is there always something attached? Like you can get on the fleece, but don't look down. Well, of course you're gonna look down.
Those models only had one seatbelt.
There's always conditions.
You can pick out the Great Bear or the Big Dipper, but when I see like 3 stars in a row, you're saying, okay, that's a.
yeah.
That's like M40.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more the position rather than the picture itself that the sheet came from the Ram. So,
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Kurt. Appreciate it.
my pleasure.
Okay. Let's move on to Albino Bud then, maybe next.
I know, bud. I know he's here somewhere. And we've done away with the music, so we don't get in trouble for copyright. Oh, the infamous binocular target of the week this week by Bino Bud is, ready for this one? Packins 3, or, and I think, Kurt, you were on last time when we did Powell's -3. And I'll show you what I mean by the -3. So, in binoculars, it looks like the McDonald's M, or like the number 3. But look closer and to the left of that number 3 when you do see it, and you're going to see a minus sign. At least that's what I spotted when I looked through binoculars. So I call it now the -3. So you can mark that in your astronomy books forever on. It's now known as Powell's -3. Oh, Sirius is the pointer to this object. It's actually a Monoceros, yeah. And was discovered by the Canadian Randy Packin, actually. So, how do I find it in the sky? Well, again, if it was clear and you went out at 11 o'clock tonight, oriented yourself at 160 degrees southeast, look up, you'll see Sirius. You come up here and look for the bright star on the point of the nose of the dog, and look straight up. There it is, -3. Okay, a closer look here. You see the 3?
Yeah.
There's the minus sign. So it's now -3. And that line stands out. In 10 by 50 binoculars, look at the size of this thing. It's a nice big 3, and guess what? Here it comes again. There's the minus. So compared to the full moon, actually, it's about the size of the full moon when you put it all together. So it's a big target. It'll be easy to see. You'll spot it. And if you're like me, you'll notice that minus sign right away. Because I know in high school, that was the one thing I hated the most was minus signs. Anyway, here we go, Paul. What's fast, loud, and crunchy? A rocket chip. Ba-dum-dum. And that's Binocular Target of the Week by Bino Bud.
Oh, that's great.
Thanks, Mike. Great my own butt again. -3. Okay.
-3, yep.
So that would be a plus minus 3.
Yeah, could be.
All right. We're going to go from there to an Ask an Astronomer. Paul's with an Ask an Astronomer on top.
Okay, all right. So I do. Let me just get things prepared here. There we go.
Watch out for
Okay, so
copyright.
this week's Ask the Astronomer was by John Nelson. He sent in and he was curious. He says people keep saying, you know, if you look to the sky and you look over here, it's 4 degrees past this, or it's 50 degrees high, or look for Polaris, it's 45 degrees up, but he doesn't really know what degrees is or how to even figure out what's what in the sky. So I thought I would just do something a little simple tonight to show some simple things that anybody can do without any planetarium software. However, I'm going to use the planetarium software just to give you a simple idea where to start this. So I'm just going to share my screen here. And let's see if I can get the right one first off. It should be it right there. And let me know if you can see that screen okay.
All set.
Okay. So so let's talk about degrees just on the planetarium side just for a second, because it's quite simple. If we live here in the north, in our neck of the woods, Polaris is basically 45 degrees north from where we are. So you're saying 45 degrees north. I don't even know where north is, and I don't even know where 45 is. Okay, so let's look at this. So what basically, when you're looking at the horizon, if you were looking at sea level, that would be 0 degrees. So there'd be nothing there. So anything that comes up, when they say it's going to come up at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock, it's going to come up at sea level at 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock. So that's where you're going to start to see it at sea. So that would be what they call 0 degrees. Now, if we say that we are when we set up our telescopes, we have to set up our scope so that we're at 45 degrees, so we can find Polaris, which is basically our North Star, and it's as close to the celestial pole as you're going to get. So if you look at this screen right here, and you look right up here, you're going to notice that right up here is Polaris, and that's at 45 degrees. So I'm just going to shrink this down a bit, and I'm going to show you how they get that. So, no, wrong one. Sorry, just one sec. There we go. So again, we talked about where sea level is, which is 0 degrees. So straight up to Polaris, if I measure that, it's actually just a little better than 45, 46 degrees is what that is. So that's basically how high up Polaris is for us if we're setting up a telescope. So that would be about halfway up between sea level and 45 degrees up. So just think of an angle if you're cutting a piece of wood. If you cut a piece of wood at 45 degrees, that's the angle it is from the ground. Straight up, if you look straight up overhead, well, let me just cut that out. If you look straight up overhead, well, I'm not used to using this thing here. There we go. Straight up overhead will be 90 degrees. So let me just turn it this way, or try to. So 90 degrees would be, if I was laying back right now looking straight up at the sky, that's where it would be. So 90 degrees basically is the same distance from the southern horizon to that point as it is from the northern horizon to that point. So that's 90 degrees. So it's 90 degrees is straight up, 45 degrees or 46 degrees is where we basically see our North Star. So having showed that, just to give a little idea of what that is, let's just look at one more thing. Actually, I'm not on here. I'm just going to show you on something a lot simpler than this chart. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to share another screen. And right here. And I'm going to share this screen right here. Okay, so oops. There we go. So let's look at this one first. So instead of using the planetarium to try to figure out how big things are or how far away one item is to the other, you might want to use what they call hand sky measurements. And this is really, really simple. So basically, you just take your arm, you hold your hand out in front of your face as far as you can comfortably can, and then you measure. So if you pick up your baby finger and look at the tip of your baby finger, that's 1 degree. Now you're saying, okay, how much is 1 degree? Well, let's break that down quite simply. It's right here. If you look at our moon, our full moon is a 1/2 degree. So that means you could cover 2 full moons with your baby finger, and that would cover 1 degree. So the moon itself was what they call 30 arc minutes. So basically, you cut the moon in half. Each degree is 60 arc minutes. So you take that, divide that by 2. Of course, it's 30. And so the moon itself is 30 arc minutes or a 1/2 degree. And your baby finger is a full degree. So that means that if you had the right stuff, the right solar glasses when you're watching that eclipse, the sun to our perspective is the same size as the moon. That's why we have eclipses, because the moon will cover the whole surface of the sun. And that's what's going to be coming up here very soon. So 1 degree out is your baby finger. So you can get an idea how big 1 degree is. So now take 3 fingers, put them together. Same thing, arm full out. That's 5 degrees. Take a fist and form it. That's 10 degrees. Take your 2 fingers across and form the rock and roll sign. That's 15 degrees. And then take your thumb and your finger, stretch them as far apart as you can, and that's 25 degrees. Now, here's how you can use this in the sky. Very simply, go to the Big Dipper. Everybody knows where the Big Dipper is. I'm assuming they do. If you don't, go out and find it. And the Big Dipper has a very specific shape. Now, that's not a constellation, it's an asterism. It's a part of a constellation. And but what we see and what everybody's seen for thousands of years is this particular asterism. So when you look at the Big Dipper, if you go from at the bowl of the Big Dipper, from the star at the bottom to the star at the top, that's 5 degrees. So you're saying, oh, 5 degrees, how much was that now? 3 fingers. So if you take 3 fingers and put it at the bottom star up to Dubhe, that's 5 degrees. If you take your 10 degree sign, what was 10 degrees? 10 degrees is a fist, right? So 10 degrees, you take a fist and you should be able to cover from Dubhe back to the star here at the end of the bowl. If you go out to the first star, that's 15 degrees. What's 15 degrees? Of course, that's the rock and roll sign. So it's the rock and roll sign from the first star to the third star. And then 25 degrees will cover the whole area from Dubhe out to the final star there. What's 25 degrees? Of course, that's your thumb and your finger wide apart. Now, if you want to know how far Polaris is from the Big Dipper, starting at Dubhe, it's actually 28 degrees. So it's just a couple of degrees wider than your thumb and your finger stretched out. So if you want to see how far away you are from something, start at the Big Dipper. Get comfortable with using your hands and your fingers in those signs, like you will here. And once you get comfortable doing that a few times, you'll start to remember. It's just 1, 5, 10, 15, 25. Easy numbers to remember. Remember how to put your fingers out like that. And then you will have a nice marker that you can go out in the sky. If I want to see how big Orion is, just take your hand out there and start to measure how large Orion is. And how far is Orion from Taurus? Well, let's take my hands and let's measure how far Orion is from Taurus, and so on and so forth. So hopefully that will answer the question of what are degrees and exactly how do we use them with our hand.
Awesome, Paul. Great stuff. Yeah.
I did that just the other day, Paul. Just so looking for Mercury in the morning, just out through the patio door. And you see Venus. I looked up on Earth-centered universe how far away Mercury was from Venus.
Mhm.
So I saw Venus. I just held my fist up to Venus and said, "Okay, I can look in here with my binoculars for Mercury," and there it was.
Amazing.
It's so useful.
It works.
Fistful of planets.
It does.
So if you put Pee Wee Herman and Arnold Schwarzenegger together, are they the same distance?
Usually, if you have a bigger hand, you have longer arms too.
No, there you go.
Average out.
Yeah, if you're a basketball player, you might have a little advantage. I don't know, but for the average person. And one other thing about that that's cool for those people who like to image stuff from their backyard, have a look around at your surroundings, like your trees and your buildings and all the things that obscure your view, and use your hand and measure them. How many degrees up are they? Or actually, I guess I'm gonna work on that, but you can kind of figure out from the sky where something's going to be. If it's going to be, say, 6 degrees and it clears my trees at 6 degrees, then you know, okay, when I go to my planetarian software to plan, okay, it's once it reaches 6 degrees, I can start seeing it in my telescope. So there's a lot of nice things that once you understand a little bit of what degrees are, then you start looking around in your backyard, and that might help out too.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul.
Okay.
Easy to do. You just have to do it a few times, I guess. Like anything else. Okay, let's go from there to I'm just gonna do a real quick talk about what's up in the sky tomorrow morning. Bring up a couple of slides here. Just that it was kind of an interesting thing to take a look at. Over here, let's do it almost.
All right.
Okay, let me share my screen here. And I guess it's this one.
I was got thinking, so 18 degrees would be trees.
-3.
Is that 3 degrees?
Minus trees.
3 degrees?
Now this is the chart that Kurt puts out. Does a great job on the calendar every month for us. Here's the January, February one for the next, I guess, 6 weeks. And in here, just looking at the 8th here, which is the one date of this week. I mean, there's a lot happening here, but this one's kind of different, I guess. Where we've got the moon occulting Antares, the bright star Antares, in Scorpius. So it's from 11:02 to 11:55. And the moon will also be 6 degrees below Venus on that night. So let's take a quick look at what else I had here. Maybe this one. So here's the morning view. Tomorrow morning, if you do have clear skies, this is what you might expect. Looking southeast tomorrow at around 7 o'clock.
We're not seeing it, Chris.
Oh, you're not seeing it?
We're still seeing the calendar.
Being paused. Okay, so let me stop share. Go back here again. 1 second here. Let's open it over here. All right, let's try this one. How's that?
There you go.
Yeah, okay. All right, so here's the view tomorrow morning. If you're up nice and early and you've got clear skies around 7 a.m., there's Mercury down low in the southeast. Venus, of course, can't mistake Venus, the brightest, the third brightest object in the sky behind the sun and the moon. And then we'll have reddish Antares right next to the moon. This is a little bit enlarged because the Solarian program has it about 4 times larger than it really is. But anyway, it's a waning crescent moon, about 11% illuminated, and it'll be close to Antares early day. Now, maybe my next one. Yeah, so this is kind of what it's going to look like later on around 11:05 or so, Kurt, 11:10, 11:01, I think.
Well, I got those times are off stellarium as well, just estimating it. So it could be off 2 or 3 minutes either way. So you want to be out there like 10 minutes before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, they say for a view at all, it appears Antares here at 11:02 and it reappears around 11:55. Might be a little easier to see on this side, popping out. And usually when the moon and sun are about 30 degrees apart or more, it's typically easier to catch. And of course, I mean, if this was happening late day or early morning sky, then the moon would be brighter and the contrast would be better, so you'd be able to pick it out a little easier as well. But it might be an idea of trying to pick that out tomorrow. Challenging. I did mention on my page that binoculars might be able to catch it, but it may be a challenge with binoculars now if you knew exactly where to look. I mean, the good thing about this, you can see stars in the daytime if the sky is cooperating for you. And again, the sun and the moon are far enough apart, or it's later in the day, just before sunset or before sunrise. And the idea here is that the star, I think it's about magnitude 3, maybe. It's around Meg 3 Antares, so it's difficult to pick up, but the moon gives you a guide. And again, it's even with some of the planets, the moon gives you a guide in this case so that you'll know to kind of look in that area. And you should be able to pick up the star Antares nearby. Now, you might need a telescope to pick it out clear, but you know, it's a target, it's a chance to pick it out if possible. The moon does pass in front of some stars and planets, of course, throughout months, but that's the activity tomorrow morning. And I want to bring up, if you can still see stellarium there, maybe too. Can we see
It's
stellarium?
a first magnitude star too, Chris.
First magnitude, okay,
Yeah.
so a little bit brighter. Are we getting stellarium up there? Are you guys seeing that or no?
No,
Oh, I have to change screen.
Also gives you an idea how fast the moon moves in an hour.
yeah.
Yeah, that too. Right. Here's stellarium. Okay, so here we are tomorrow morning at 6:45. I can bring on the labels of the planets here. There's Mercury, Venus, and the moon. And I mean, even in the next few mornings, if you don't catch it tomorrow morning and the sky doesn't really cooperate, I mean, the moon is pretty well dropped out of sight by 7:15 or so, but we've still got Mercury and Venus and Antares here making a nice celestial triangle too. So, and we can see that the Venus and Mercury start to drop off here by the end of the month. So we've got a little bit of time left to enjoy the two of these. But anyway, tomorrow morning is that sky, and that's what we might want to take a look for. No, just say one more thing is this one. So, I mean, Kurt puts out the great calendar. Another one that puts out a nice calendar as well is Lisa's Lookup. You can follow her on Lisa's Lookup Astronomy More. She puts out this one every month as well. She lists the events for the month. This is the month for January. She lists the date of the event, the peak times, and the seeing tools that you require, naked eye, binoculars, or telescope. So you can find her at Lisa's Lookup, Astronomy More on Facebook, or Ruby Moonbeams on Instagram, X, Mastodon, and Facebook. So that's all I got to say about that there. Good luck tomorrow with the weather wise. Doesn't look like we're going to have an opportunity here locally. Gee, I'm surprised. A celestial event. Look, I don't care if I can't see a celestial event or even if there's a clear sky between now and April 7th, but by Jove, April 8th, there better be something.
I paid my 50 cents to see a high diamond.
Someone's going to do that. Someone's going to be you. Okay. All right. Let's go from there then to Rosanna's fun fact.
All right. Let me just get that straightened up here. Okay, now let's see where that's going to actually pop up. We'll find out. Share my screen. Should be on that one. Share. And you should be looking at a really nice watch.
Okay. Oh, no sound.
No sound at all?
Very little. But that's okay. We'll get it next time.
Yeah, you can see her, can't you?
Yeah, we can. Yep.
All right. Well, that's all that matters.
Yep.
Hello, Rosanna. Welcome back. Happy New Year. Ready for another great, wonderful year. Rosanna's absolutely incredible fun facts. So let's see if we can't get right into that. Okay, so Rosanna writes, hi, Paul. With a quick drop in temperatures from Thursday, with a +3 down to a -18 wind chill this morning on my hike, one might start to think of venturing to a warmer land, maybe the land down under. Australia is relatively new to the space world, in that the Australian Space Agency was formed quite recently, actually in 2018. Let's see if I can, I have to do this first. Sorry, folks. Let me just get that first picture up. There we go. So Australia is 2018. So they are celebrating space right now by working closely with the Royal Austrian Mint and have just released the first minted coin for 2024. So take a look at that. So rovers, technology, rockets, astronauts, satellites, communications, GPS, astronomy, and exploration and discovery. And out of this world, Australia in space. So it's quite a coin. The coin shows milestones like the launch of the first Australian satellite and the Apollo 11 moon landing. And this image credit comes from the Royal Austrian Mint. Hundreds of coin collectors were up early on Monday morning to try and get their hands on the first minted coins for 2024 at the Royal Australian Mint in Canberra. Those who arrived by 8:30 were entered into a ballot to mint the world's first coin of the year in public press. The space agency hopes to encourage more interest in the space program with the introduction of this coin. A redraw saw 12-year-old Izzy Zaharis from Wollongong named the lucky winner after the first entrant chosen was not present for the draw. So you snooze, you lose, folks. Even though the Australian Space Agency is relatively new, they have made significant discoveries and have contributed to the space news world. In just this past July, the SKA, or the Square Kilometer Array, Pathfinder telescope from down under detected the regularly repeating radio emission from a cool dwarf star barely hotter than a pizza oven. So Covey Rose and Tara Murphy provided this composite of a cool brown dwarf on the background of the Milky Way. And their findings published in the Astrophysical Journal's Letters identified the coldest star ever found to produce radio waves. A brown dwarf that is too small to be a regular star and too massive to be a planet. Their paper details and detection of pulse radio emissions from this star called WISE, and I won't read the number because it's long, but it's called WISE J0623. Despite being roughly the same size as Jupiter, this dwarf star has a magnetic field much more powerful than our sun's. It's joining the ranks of just a small handful of known ultra-cool dwarfs that generate repeating radio bursts. Interesting. And a trip to a warmer climate is not on your list. Perhaps you are cheering yourself up by watching cat videos. And I know a whole group of people that do this. And so NASA just made both cat video and laser communication headlines by testing their state-of-the-art laser communication systems on the Psyche spacecraft, which we mentioned in December 10th. Fun fact, it sent a high-definition cat video 31 million kilometers, or 19 million miles, through space. The Psyche spacecraft, which is on its way to the asteroid of the same name, used its laser transceiver to send back to Earth a 15-second video of an orange tabby named Taters chasing a laser, fittingly. The test, while undeniably whimsical, was also a successful demonstration of higher data rate communications that will be needed to support complex missions, such as sending humans to Mars. So a still life video from the image credit, and that's what that little kitty cat is.
Pretty cool.
And if you are excited about the upcoming eclipse in April, you can also add this news to your 2024 list. Just before Christmas, 4 astronauts, 3 Americans and 1 Canadian, met with President Biden. They are the Artemis II crew assigned to fly around the moon in late 2024 on the first crewed mission beyond low Earth orbit since the Apollo program. And here is our Canadian astronaut, Jeremy Hansen. Now, mission specialist Jeremy Hansen is a fighter pilot in the Royal Canadian Air Force. He worked as a Capcom, the voice between the ground and the ISS, for many years at NASA's Mission Control Center. He is the first Canadian to have led a NASA astronaut class. Artemis II is his first assignment as an astronaut. So there's a lot to look forward to, no matter what the temperatures are outside or what New Year's resolutions you may have on your list. I think Taters is hoping to feature them more prominently in the space news soon. So the goal for 24, Tater makes it to space. And that is this week's. Hey.
Who cleans up the
There you
tater
go.
tots?
There, so from the one of the coolest stars that are out there to one of the coolest cats that are here.
Cool cats.
That's
Yeah,
what somebody has to, somebody
only-
has to clean up the tater tots.
You're only as good as the next cat video, Mike says, right?
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Rosanna.
Thanks, Rosanna. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool to send information up to Psyche and back again. I guess that really does test the information. I wonder how it would do with Voyager to get the information of the Voyager, if we could understand it. Voyager 1 out there, 22 billion miles away.
Oh, yeah, 19 million?
22 billion, I think it is. Kilometers. She's out there, yeah.
Yeah, it's a long ways.
I think
I
they're
gotta
having
get
some
a phone
trouble
home
with it.
anymore.
They're saying they're having some trouble with that recently, right? That they're trying to communicate with it. It's sending back some information right now that's kind of gobbledygook. They can't quite understand what's going on. The Voyager spacecraft, what it's sending back, and they're having to bring some old retirees back to help them understand the language.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go from there then to some photos. Thank you, Rosanna, for another great fun fact. Let's bring up a few photos that we got this week. Bear with me 1 second. Should start with this one. Oop, hang on. Great screen. Okay, so let me share my screen. It should be this one. Started with that one. Up and good.
Yep.
Okay, all right. So we're going to start with this one from Matthew Dupre. He says, "Hi, Chris. Hope you had a great Christmas." He said, "There's my latest shot of the Horsehead and Flame Nebula. I'd only got 45 minutes of exposure time due to clouds. Was taken with my Celestron 9 1/4 Hyperstar and ASI 2600, my Pro." Awesome.
Nice, very nice.
Thanks.
Yeah, he's doing nice work.
You got the good work, buddy. Thank you for that. Okay, we're going to go from there to a capture here from Duckman Arsenal from the sun and the moon from January the 2nd. Kind of a cool shot there.
Beautiful morning shot.
Oh, look at that, eh?
Good stuff. Thanks, Duckman. I'm going to go from there to Alan Legier's capture here. This is his M33 Pinwheel Galaxy. 240 30-second frames, no guide scope. ZWO ASI 533 MC Pro camera with an ASI Air Plus, processed in ASI Studio and using a Celestron AVX mount, also known as a triangular galaxy. Yeah. That must be a pretty faint galaxy to capture because all the images I see are kind of like that, but a lot of star action or star formation in that area, I guess, eh?
Yeah.
Galaxy to view.
And it's several NGC designations on bright
Yeah.
patches. Yeah.
Okay. It is quite nice. I really like it. Okay, thank you for that, Alan. Let's go on to Joey Croswell's capture here of the Sea Star. 31 minutes on the Sea Star and stacking it in, of course, the Horsehead and the Flame Nebula there. These Sea Stars are getting pretty popular, eh?
They are. They're doing good work.
Producing some nice images here for what they are. It's a triplet apo, right? That's the telescope that's inside it, and these are live stacked, of course, but the stacked images here are really giving some pretty good results for the size of the telescope. They're become quite popular. Thanks,
Yeah,
Joey.
it's a really good introductory product into astrophotography. Considering what it is, the results are actually quite stunning.
This is one from Kathy Adams now. This is her collage from 2023. She did a nice job.
She's been busy.
Yeah, she has been.
She's got a Sea Star now too.
Yeah.
So she's your Sea Star from another Me Star?
Yeah, it could be.
I can't believe she got that many clear skies in 2023.
Yeah, what's going on with that?
Yeah, got the mood down there.
She's holding out on it.
Could be.
Okay, was that? I gotta go back here one. Was that? Yeah, that was Joey's. Okay. And we're gonna go on here to capture from Bridget Green tonight. She sent this one. Hi, Chris. You should likely have a lot of submissions after the break, so no worries. We can't include it, but we didn't have that many actually. On my way home Tuesday night, January 2nd, I saw the sky becoming a real beauty as many in our area likely noticed. So I drove down to the road to catch the glow on the frozen surface of Taylor Lake. Nice shot.
That's beautiful.
You know, it doesn't take much to get a
Reflection
nice
of the
picture. The fact is that you're out underneath the sky and enjoying the view. That's what it's all about, everybody. So,
Yeah.
thanks so much, Bridget. I'm going to share this one from Mr. Powell from the Crescent Moon from yesterday.
Anytime in the morning.
Yeah,
It's a day moon, is it?
I got it in before it got light, and then I got it again after it got light.
awesome.
Yeah.
Really
It's such a pretty moon. I was down trying to get a photo of sunrise.
okay. Really nice. And of course, the winter circle. We had talked about that the other day on my Facebook page about how big that winter circle is and what it comprises of, and how it's such the prominent asterism in our evening sky now. So there it is. Mike circled it all out for us. Love his house. Thanks,
Very
Mike.
Yeah, from the backyard.
And if you have any photos that you'd like to share, please send them in. We love sharing them here. You can send them into astronomybythebay@gmail.com. That's the best address. If you send them through Facebook, Facebook isn't allowing me to enlarge pictures anymore for some reason. So some settings changes. But if you send them here, I can always get them. I can download them and we can save them for next week. So thanks very much for everybody for sharing those out. And we're going to go from there now to Paul. We're going to close out the show, I guess. But I'm going to let Paul introduce what's coming up next week, first of all. Paul.
Okay, so as we know, we're getting into we're getting down to the go time for the solar eclipse. So we have a really special guest coming on next week, and we are so pleased to be able to have him. And for those out there who don't know him, first of all, his name's Alan Dyer. And Alan's got quite a long list of accomplishments that he's done over the years. I'm just going to share his page just for a second and to show so you guys can see who's coming, because really you don't want to miss this next week. What he's going to talk about next week is actually imaging the solar eclipse. Now he's an eclipse chaser. He's actually imaged, I think, 16, if I'm not wrong, on that number, 16 of these solar eclipses around the world. And but he's quite if you want to learn how to do it, this is the man. But he does more than that. So let me just share my screen. So here's Alan's website, and it's called Amazing Sky by Alan Dyer. And this is just a little blurb on Alan, just a little bit about who he is and what he's done. He's got a Canada Post stamp from his photography. He's from Alberta, Canada. And I'll just read just this little part here. It says, I am an author of astronomy books and magazine articles and a photographer of the night sky. If that wasn't obvious from this website. As you can see, as you can also gather from my site, I also present astrophoto workshops and inspiring talks on astronomy and the wonders of the universe. I am a regular contributor to Sky News, which is now defunct, Canada Stargazing magazine, and also to Sky and Telescope magazine. My photos, videos have appeared on spaceweather.com, Astronomy Picture of the Day, which is an APOD, Universe Today, Forbes, National Geographic, Time, NBC News, and CBS News. Since my first TSE in February 1979, I have traveled the world to see 16 total solar eclipses. I am a member of the World at Night Photo Group, and there's a link to that. I am now retired from many exciting years of producing planetarium shows for the theaters in Winnipeg, Edmonton, Calgary, Canada. Occasionally, they still let me on the Digistar system in Calgary to have fun programming, a presentation as at left. The main belt asteroid number 78434 is named after him. So he's also a recipient of an asteroid name. In 2018, Canada Post issued a stamp featuring one of his images of the auroras on the night sky. And he's, of course, on Twitter, Facebook, and so on. I want to show you that, but I also want to show you the books that he's also involved with. He has an eclipse book, which is this one here, which is what he's going to be talking about. And this is one that's designed to give us, as people who are interested in the solar eclipse, an opportunity to do the right things when we go out and photograph this. So this is actually an e-book that you can get involved with if you like. He'll explain that to you next week. Also, Oops, sorry. Let me get back to books again. He also has books on nightscapes and time lapses if you want to learn how to do all of that stuff. He's done them all, and he's got lots and lots of information there on that. And this is a book you all should be familiar with because I've been talking about it forever. And it's now in its, what is it, the 4th edition, Kurt?
Mhm.
Yeah, the 4th edition. And this is the Backyard Astronomer's Guide. And Alan Dyer is a co-author of this book, which dates back a lot of years. This is the 4th rendition of it with Terence Dickinson. And this is like the go-to book for just about everybody. And not only that, he's also a contributor to the new Night Watch magazine. And he contributes all kinds of photographs and whatnot and information in there. So this fellow's been around a long time. He's definitely one of my mentors. When I was young, just starting out in astrophotography, in fact, he had a course that I bought that I still have today. So I'm really, really, really excited that Alan Dyer is going to be on our show next week. And it's so timely because with this eclipse coming up, this couldn't have been a better time for someone like Alan to be on our show. So
No, it's awesome.
make sure you tune in next week for this because it's going to be a good one.
Absolutely. And make sure you share it too. Thanks, Paul. And we're really looking forward to that. Okay, so that's our show for this evening. A special thanks, Kurt, of course, for joining us once again. Thanks, Kurt. It's been a pleasure. Looking forward to seeing you again next month.
Good.
Next week, of course, our guest is Alan Dyer, so we're really looking forward to that. We hope you enjoyed the program here tonight. A special thanks as well goes out to Rosanna's fun facts. They're fabulous episodes. Rosanna, really, really appreciate it. Remember too, we do love getting your photos, so send them into astronomybythebay@gmail.com, and we'll be happy to put them on our next broadcast. Special thanks again to our friends at Rogers for joining us this evening. Let me flip my page here. Here we go. So till next week, everybody, wishing everybody clear skies. As we like to say, guys, open your eyes to view the skies and keep your scopes pointed up.
Ram.
He's
Okay.
ran.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.